So how does financial inclusion help reduce poverty in a sustainable way, let's say?
Absolutely. Poverty elimination is a must. India has taken the poverty from 375 million extreme poverty to 44 million. So whether you are giving cooking gas, whether you're giving housing, whether you're giving healthcare, whether you're giving education, it's all possible by financial inclusion.
Plastic that can dissolve in seawater. So how exactly is this sustainable? Because plastic is still harmful, right, for marine life?
Well, we have seen the reflection in terms of Japanese university has come out with a fantastic value creation. Plastic can be dissolved in no time. There is no emission, and they have come out with the technology which is
No, absolutely, I agree. I think, of course, moving towards vegan food, when you're talking about food, I mean, I think food is an emotion and you should be making the choice personally how you feel. So I'm not here to tell anyone to make food choices, but I read recently that there was stats saying usually the slaughterhouses where animals are killed for meat, above the slaughterhouses are the areas where there is the largest depletion of the ozone layer, which is again contributing to, climate risk. So there are little things like this that I think people are becoming aware about. But talking about that, the question is, in 2024, the global CO2 emissions from energy claim to have hit a record high.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
41 gigatons. That's the emission we are talking about. We all have agreed we have to reduce pre-industrial level by 1.5%. It's not happening. Every year, last 4 years if you look at it, over the previous year, warming is up by 1%. So that's a real challenge in the global space. Global burning, as I use the expression time and again, is real. So how are you going to bring it down? Every year, 2024 was the hottest year than previous years, record. Now again, we have to see the initiatives which are taken by various countries in reducing the global warming is going to have a positive impact in reducing. It's not happening. So the carbon emission is high, the global warming is visible, so it is a real danger. We have to understand this is not helping rising sea level, increasing temperature, animal extinction, bushfires. This is not an ordinary problem. If we start ignoring it, we are ignoring our own children and grandchildren. Life has got enduring values. After we pass out from this planet, we have a commitment to our children and grandchildren, our planet as a whole. We are one family. How can you ignore this? I cannot say this is only my world, after me, forget it. Whatever happens is not my problem. I cannot say that. Then I am endangering my own solvency and purpose of life is defeated. A responsible and global citizen, as a self-respecting individual, I have to come to terms to recognize this is a serious problem. I have to fix it, whether you are a politician or a professional or general public.
No, I agree, and I think not just selflessly wanting to do it for the next couple of generations, but for example, I think my parents will still survive the world the way it is right now. I might be able to get through, but the generation below me, supposing I have kids, my kids will suffer, and then their kids will suffer. And so it's almost not selflessly, it's almost selfishly wanting to create a better world, because you obviously don't want to see your loved ones suffer or have to create a space that is healthy for them to grow up in, because that's how you grew up.
That's
and
right.
Like I said, there's so much difference in the way that you grew up versus me growing up, and we wish like things were different, and I wish I could have experienced nature, food, resources very differently. I'm very grateful for all of the comfort But I do see the disparity. The older I get, I do see the disparity in the way that you grew up and I grew up.
True.
And I hope that with this effort, with this podcast, we create awareness to be able to bridge that disparity as one step at a time. I hope that's what this podcast
Brilliantly
is doing.
perceived, and you are recognizing the challenge. Well said.
Yep. Thank you. So now we're talking about the London Climate Summit. What are key takeaways that we should be remembering?
Well, it's a good summit, good resolution between Kenya, UK, and Singapore. They want to get into the committed mission. They want to comply in total terms, and a lot of good resolutions in terms of carbon trading mechanism, corporates' commitments, and making sure carbon emission is measured and managed and controlled. And they have an agreement in multilateral terms to cooperate and exchange the best sustainable practices. So it's a lesson which is worth replicating by the rest of the countries. You can build this partnership, multilateral commitments can come in, experimentation in one part of the world can resonate if it is a good experience and put into sustainable practice in policy making and practice.
Okay. And what does democratization of AI actually mean?
With the changing face of the world, new industrial revolution is really visibly shaking the new world order called artificial intelligence, machine learning. And it's an extraordinary opportunity to live the state of the world. It's a positive reflection. Let's not look at anything negative. AI is here to support this mission thanks to the invention, and it is going to improve the knowledge society. More and more people are going to be health conscious, self-conscious, and it is socially responsive, ethical in terms of living if you practice it properly, and it is going to give enormous amount of benefit in terms of the synergistic measurements and management. So how does it work? Democratization is social justice, freedom, functional democracy, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of where you come from, what you are born with. We have to have sustainable development practices. That's why a global sustainable development agenda, everything gets into AI mode. Irrespective of the industry you belong to, you have huge opportunity to reskill, upskill, and relearn again the new mission of being efficient and energetic and more purposeful. So AI is here, but it has to be inclusive. It has to be ethical. It has to work for everyone, and it doesn't belong to one country. That's the challenge, and it has to be responsibly practiced. So when you have the wisdom, you are more committed. Responsibility gravitates to a person who can shoulder it. I think AI is a beautiful opportunity. Responsible commitment, ethical and moral governance will shape in well if you practice it properly.
Now that we know what democratization of AI means, how does it affect the climate?
It is. See, if you look at the big picture, you have a lot of unlabeled data is being looked into by machine learning through multiple options to look for search and sources. Now, the large language models again go through huge amount of carbon emission. The search itself is meticulous, and the search engines needs huge amount of energy consumption, and the carbon emission is enormous in terms of quantification. So how do we do AI execution with less carbon emission is what the new opportunity everyone is exploring. So when it comes to adoption, we have to be very specific in terms of integrating these new research and ensure we are systemic in terms of the simulations and models which are responsive.
And now we're moving on to one of the sustainable development goals by the UN, which is poverty, right? So how does financial inclusion help reduce poverty in a sustainable way, let's say?
Absolutely. Poverty elimination is a must. Take, for example, the financial inclusion is a major opportunity. India is showed the way. India has taken the poverty from 375 million extreme poverty to 44 million. Look at the scale. 269 million people are out of the woods. That says it all. So whether you are giving cooking gas, whether you're giving housing, whether you're giving healthcare, whether you're giving education, it's all possible by financial inclusion. And that's what exactly marginalized society stands to gain. That's what India has demonstrated. The rest of the world is also coming to terms. The urban-rural divide has to be reduced. Marginal communities needs to be augmented for better per capita. And you have to have support from the policymakers to augment all these resources and give it to the poor. And so that reducing the inequality is playing a big role. So India is a testament, and poverty elimination and zero hunger, food securities are interconnected. So we have to be responsive. Whichever be the country you are coming from, we have to eliminate extreme poverty. That's the commitment every global citizen has to initiate.
Okay, and moving towards economies like Dubai, for example, which are heavily oil-based economies, how are they pivoting towards non-oil trade?
Well, it's a huge restructuring in terms of diversification. That's what exactly 50, 60 years before many of the Gulf states were attempting to do. UAE stands in parlance. Now, if you look at last year GDP, 76% has come from non-oil trade. Even though substantial GDP was coming from oil once upon a time, now in terms of trading, in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of free market dynamics, in terms of setting up the infrastructure, airport, seaport, road, rail, and again making sure business policies are friendly and it is truly reflecting the global character and commitment and setting standards in terms of comfort. These are modernization beyond comprehension. That's what UAE has done it, and cleverly done it to diversify from the oil. As a result, import, export, re-export are all growing. Look, last year alone, the bilateral trade between India and UAE is nearing $100 billion. It has gone up by almost 10%. 27% has gone up, 127 I should say, Saudi Arabia. 9% has gone up for Turkey, that's UAE. So clearly, non-oil trade is playing a big role. Trade or investments, banking or finance, essentially it's not confined to only oil. And that's the beauty of UAE, especially Dubai, is showing its muscles in terms of diversification as a structured solution.
Okay, and now that we're tapping into a couple of the sustainable development goals by the UN, we did talk a little bit about how they're interconnected in our previous podcast, but how are conflict, climate change, and hunger connected?
Oh, that's tragedy, isn't it? We look at the wars which are going, leave alone water wars are going on, poverty wars are going on, whether it is Israel-Iran conflict, Israel-Gaza conflict, Ukraine-Russia conflict, and we had Arab Springs in the past. Many of the flashpoints within the Middle East has created an enormous amount of displacement. The warfares have resulted in spoiling the bioreserves. Now, the conflicts, who is bigger, who is smaller, who has to conquer whom and why? The world in today's new order needs social justice and recognizing the fact the world belongs to everyone. Territorial integrity, we respect and recognize the social justice, human rights. But the warfare has created enormous amount of impact on children, poor children, poverty, lack of education, no affordable hygiene or clean energy is not there. They don't have basics. They are running below the poverty line. Displacement of people from one part of the world to another. What a tragedy to humanity. And every year it is increasing. Let the peace prevail. Let the compassion prevail. Let the love transcend borders. Let us understand humanity is all about self-loving, self-reflection. And then you don't hate anyone. You love the entire God's creation. And that's the sense of commitment we need. Irrespective of the faith where you come from. Nobody is bigger, nobody is smaller. Human beings are, living souls are alike. They have the same amount of rights and responsibilities. Let's recognize this and let's bring the code of ethical and moral governance as individual, institutions, countries, continents, planet as a whole.
Absolutely, very well said, and I think very important. But on a slightly lighter note now, I want to know what your opinion is on using recycled rubber in construction.
Well, that's a good development as such. If you look at the big picture, construction industry is causing enormous amount of carbon emission. That's where the circular economy has to play a role. So much waste is happening, whether it is plastic or otherwise. We have to recognize these can be recycled and they can be 95% carbon emission reduction you can achieve, and it is sustainable, and making sure you get into process which can operate. The scientific invention now showcased by K Research from Scotland, that it can be a recycled rubber that can be a source of construction tool. You can replace with conventional bricks. So you have enormous amount of opportunities evolving by this means, and it is again fireproof, tolerant, and we have enormous reason to believe slowly but steadily we can execute this into green building.
Okay, and moving back to AI, do you think that AI search trends are going to redefine business the way we know it?
Absolutely. Tremendous amount of opportunity lies in moving up in the value chain to AI. AI is a constructive tool. We have corporates can use it in any forms. Retail consumers can use it in multiple forms for knowledge procurements, research, and again making sure the treasury or investments or finance or even other sectors, agricultural practices, climate resilience models, all are predictable indicators you can bring in, and you have a right foresight and early warnings in terms of healthcare, and making sure you have long-term opportunity created by social inclusion by the visionary politicians, because policy makeup should give a right kind of foresight. AI can supplement it. And again, when it comes to cyber risk management, when it comes to intrusion reduction, AI can play a role. So in terms of human development, economic development, environment development, social developments, you have a bigger opportunity in terms of adopting AI, and it is a global agenda. And we need global leaders to recognize this and put in practices which are ethical and moral to govern it in a unified form and substance.
Okay. And on the current state of global energy investment, what is it and how is it linked to sustainability?
Huge opportunity, isn't it? We have $3 trillion last year dollars has stepped into the energy side. 2.2 trillion is on the renewables. 450 billion is solar. 76 billion is on the storage batteries. That says it all. Wind, biofuel, biomass are all shaping up. The pace at which the renewables are accelerating, and it's also slowing down the coal investments, slowing down the fossil investments. But size of the operation is so huge. That's why in absolute numbers it's not reflecting, but the percentage in terms of contribution towards green investment is recognized, and it is sustainable, and people see a value in it in terms of the overall asset allocation model. The green asset allocation model, green investments are happening, and it's going to be contributory for long-term opportunities for everyone, not only as a social commitment, commercially a responsible return as well.
Okay. And I feel like now I'm asking you a question as an entrepreneur or someone from the younger generation, but there's a growing market or growing companies that are AI based, right? So what does this mean for the younger generation that's entering the job market?
It's a huge opportunity, isn't it? You have green technologies. Say, setting your own personal vision, you become institutions. Individuals should become institutions. You have your own brand equity. Set your own business model. Set your own persona. Build your own way forward in terms of career direction. You can be an institution in many forms. Defining your timeline and making sure you're prorating it scientifically. You have a balanced growth, recognizing personal way forward, inducting AI in every form as a consultant, and making sure the thought leadership comes to you through AI, supplementing your own genuine thought leadership, augmenting additional advantage, knowing your weakness, converting into strength, creating opportunities for yourself, making sure you reduce the weakness, and making sure you eliminate the threat around you. You become socially responsive, you have a good self-esteem, you have a purposeful life, and you have a long-term vision, and your success is guaranteed.
Okay, and I think that this question is, for years we've been told about, or growing up as children, we've always been told about, beach waste, throwing things around, don't litter. But now we're hearing about plastic that can dissolve in seawater. So how exactly is this sustainable? Because plastic is still harmful, right, for marine life?
Well, we have seen the reflection in terms of Japanese university has come out with a fantastic value creation. Plastic can be dissolved in no time. There is no emission, and they have come out with a technology which is responsive, so it will not create water pollution. You look at the water pollution. How many plastic bottles are there in the sea? You go to any beach, and contamination, water contamination. Now, this revolution is going to redefine, and plastic versus planet was an issue once upon a time.
Right.
Now, this is going to change the game, and it's going to be useful to eliminate the carbon, and also going to use constructively to recycle for better advantage.
Right, and I'm not sure if you know of the entire process, which I feel like you already have the answer, but this process does not leave behind any microplastics in the water.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
that's
because that's another thing that's extremely harmful even for human life.
I read it carefully, and Japanese university is categorical in saying that this is the solution for sea pollution, especially plastics.
I think this is great because ultimately at the end of the day we say eliminate plastic, but practicality wise, sometimes we land up resorting to using plastic, no matter how sustainable and eco-friendly and how much we want to reuse paper and bamboo and all of the other recyclable things. So I think this is a great development that's going to change a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And lastly, I want to ask you is, how can AI help us manage but also predict climate risk?
See, look at the weather patterns changing. Rising sea levels are increasing temperature. Now we need monsoons for many industries, agriculture for example. So we have a weather pattern which is uncertain. Climate risk management is an absolute science. Now if you have predictive intelligence in recognizing these variables and making sure there is a pattern which is measurable, manageable, controllable, is indicated to you, early warning comes to you, your sustainable agriculture practice becomes more meaningful, for example. So there are many industries like this. So climate change, if it is governed with technology, especially artificial intelligence, can contribute a lot in terms of sustainable practices. Yeah. Every industry can adopt these measures to make it more formidable and measurable, and predictive intelligence can augment absolute productivity without loss of time.
Okay, and I think that's all we have for today's episode. Thank you so much for all of the insights. I think it's really changed my perspective into thinking largely about the little actions I can make, but it's also created awareness about what's happening globally and how we need to be contributing towards sustainability and what's already in the works.
Yeah.
So we will see you in your next episode, in our next episode, not in your next episode. But until then, stay conscious, stay connected to change, stay curious, and if this episode left an impact on you, don't forget to share it with a friend.
They're going to subscribe as well. I've seen the reflection, it's an ascending trend because we are doing it as an NGO. We want to make sure that we add value to the public at large. There's no commercial motive involved in it. We want to share the knowledge so you become a champion to propagate this culture and we protect this planet. That's the mission. You are the major beneficiary. Let's get on with it. Let's add value. Let us shoulder each other to make sure we have quality living.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is Shruti Seetharaman signing off.
Thank you.